This is TWiT.
So you talked to Apple about this. I thought this was really interesting. There are two activist investors at Apple. There's the Janus Fund, which I think everybody knows they're kind of one of the noisiest of the activist investors. And then there's CalSTRS, which is the California Teachers Pension Fund. And they wrote a letter to Apple saying, you better start thinking about smartphone overuse and addiction among kids, because if you don't address this now, it could come back to bite you. I think it's unprecedented for shareholders of a company to tell a company, your product is dangerous. You got to do something about it.
It's both the best and worst thing for Apple, because Apple, far and away, I mean, Microsoft does some interesting things too, but Apple's been doing parental controls for years.
They're very good at it.
Yeah, I don't think Google has much of anything in terms of this, and there's no like shareholder activists about Google. It's like immediately when there's a problem, it's Apple's problem, and immediately when we want something, we want it from Apple, and I think that's great in terms of mind share. But Apple has done there's some interesting parts of this. One is that Apple's done a ton of stuff with parental controls, with restrictions, and they have since iOS 2 and I think macOS Tiger. They could always be better. Apple also has Configurator, and they have Classroom for Education, which if you want, you can use on your kids or anybody's iPhone or iPad. But those are meant to be IT solutions, and you sort of need to know IT things, or like a Fraser Spears can manage the heck out of an iPhone, or anyone who does IT can use Configurator to do some amazing things with an iPhone, but those aren't really accessible to parents. And we need something that's a little bit better or more granular. Like I think a lot of people just want timeouts, for example, like shut this device down after so long, but it has to be much easier to use than enterprise, like mobile device management solutions.
And actually it was Megan Maroney on iOS Today earlier who reminded me of this. Apple, simply with their don't text while driving feature, which they put into iOS 11, is easily the best in the business on this stuff. I mean, they've really done a good job, I think. But
totally, and I want to have
Jana Partners is starting a socially responsible investing fund, and Sting and his wife are on the board and stuff like that. So they have this is kind of promotional for Jana. California State Teachers Retirement System, I think, probably because they're teachers, has some interest in this.
But this is the same thing with accessibility. Like, please make this an industry discussion.
Yes.
I can't count how many times I've seen accessibility on an Apple stage. I don't think I've almost ever seen it on a Google stage or other companies. And this is not what about it. And this is something that I want as a consumer of all these companies. I want them all held to Apple-like standards. It is better for all of us if they do that. Apple
gets all the heat because they got the most successful phone. Frankly.
And good, just give that heat to everybody, please. I want them all to be doing this for me.
Yeah,
and Apple did say they were going to make more stuff.
Yeah, and Google has had a lot of coverage about accessibility and stuff like that in their events. But they do, and I absolutely agree that this really should be a complaint about all phones in general, all devices in general, and not just about Apple. And it's easy to figure out why they decided to highlight Apple in this. Yeah. But this is going to be a bigger and bigger problem. I mean, I've been taking a look at child activity trackers, like the fitness bands that are designed for children, and that's kind of okay. That's nice that you're sort of able to make sure that your kids have an awareness of how much they're active or not active during the day. But these add horrifying features to me, where it has things like chore tracking and reward tracking, so that if they make their bed, basically their parents can monitor what they're doing, and they can communicate between the devices so that they get certain rewards if they do certain chores. And that's for lazy butts like me, that can be a very handy way to kick me in the butt and say, you are going to clean the floors today. You're going to move the furniture out of the way. You're going to dry mop. You're going to wet mop. You're going to do all that stuff, and because it's on the schedule, and I won't let you access Instagram until you actually get this done. Okay, fine. But when you're talking about giving this to like a 7, 8, 9-year-old kid, where they're being trained that the reason why I'm making my bed in the morning is because I want to Minnie Mouse to do the little dance, and I want to be able to get tokens that I can use to play a game on my phone later on. I really do. I want to see some studies into what that does to this kid as an adult, when they are always linking, if I do this for a tangible and immediate and clear reward, as opposed to the reason why you clean your room regularly is because if you don't, in a month, you will not be able to see you won't be able to find anything you own. You won't be able to, you'll be surrounded by filth. There is no immediate tangible reward to cleaning your room except for having a clean room and an orderly life.
For someone who has no kids, you're right on, Andy. And I think there are a lot of parents who in fact, we didn't do this, will not tie rewards to chores. That's just your requirement. That's just your job. You just have to do that. It's part of being in the family because they don't want to create that connection. But the point here is not that Apple would do that either. What Apple needs to do and what they're calling on Apple to do and every company to do is to provide the tools parents need to choose how they do this.
Right.
So it's about empowering parents, not about putting in stuff like
absolutely. I mean that it's good that we continue to have conversations about what happens when you have a human being that is still in development, that their brain is still cooking, they're still writing their operational software, and if if there's a layer of glass between their brains and their perceptions of reality, what effect does that have in 20 years' time? At least it's worth studying.
No,
I always defer to Georgia on stuff like this because she's way smarter than me. But
and she has kids.
Stuff, she has kids, and she's got a degree in education, and she's a full-time therapist. But the interesting thing with this is that Apple can only offer technological solutions to this. And when you talk about the effects of screen time on children, even on adults, but on children too, it has to be a balance. There has to be parenting. Apple can't make a cyber babysitter, nor should they make a cyber babysitter for you. The most powerful way to prevent your kids having screen time is to prevent them from having screen time. And this is not new. This is don't put the computer in their room, put it in the living room. This is don't give them constant access to a phone because you can put a timeout on it. But if they don't have the phone, they can't be using the phone. So I think it's a larger societal question about the roles and responsibilities of parenting and the children that we're raising and how technology and what the technology companies can do to help with it. But there's still ultimately parenting issues.